Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Why do some people reach their dreams while others fall short? What if the difference isn't luck, but how they see themselves? And what if the key to success lies in living as your future self today? The truth is simple. Your brain can't tell the difference between real achievement and consistent rehearsal. When you act as if you've already become that person, your subconscious begins to align with new opportunities. It all starts with small daily habits that reflect your ideal self. Choose one behavior to implement today. Remember, you don't become what you occasionally wish for. You become what you consistently practice. Think about it. Successful people carry themselves differently. They walk with purpose, speak with conviction, and radiate energy that attracts others. That's not luck. It's the power of a cultivated self-image. You will never rise beyond the vision you hold of yourself. The person you believe you are sets the boundaries of everything you can achieve. So when you look in the mirror, who do you see? Someone destined for greatness, or someone held back by doubt and fear? That answer shapes your future more than any outside force. Transformation begins when you define exactly who you want to become, not just in accomplishments, but in character, attitude, and spirit. Visualize this version of yourself with clarity. How does this person stand? Speak. Handle challenges? What values guide their decisions? Once you see it, begin living as if you are already that person. This isn't deception. It's the blueprint of growth. It's all about aligning your present actions with your desired outcomes. Begin practicing the mannerisms, making the choices, and adopting the mindset of your ideal self. When a decision arises, ask yourself, what would the person I want to become do here? Then act on that answer, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Take the example of Edmund Graves, a mid-level banker with dreams of transforming the financial world. He didn't have strong connections or abundant resources, but he observed that the executives he admired shared distinct qualities. They dressed sharply, spoke with intention, and carried themselves with quiet confidence. Instead of waiting for a promotion, Graves embraced these traits immediately. He invested in well-tailored suits despite his modest salary, practiced deliberate speech, and projected the presence of someone already in leadership. Within 3 years, he was promoted to regional director, with colleagues later admitting they had seen him as executive material long before his title confirmed it. So ask yourself, are you living today as the person you aspire to become? Do your daily habits align with the future you envision? Or are you waiting until success arrives before acting the part? The truth is, success gravitates toward those who embody it early, long before the outside world catches up. You may wonder, isn't this just pretending? Shouldn't I stay authentic? The difference is clear. You're not faking qualities you lack. You're developing those already within you, still waiting to grow. The seeds of your future self are present right now, ready to be nourished through consistent action and focus. When you consistently act in alignment with your ideal self-image, something powerful happens. The gap between who you are and who you want to be begins to close until it disappears. Your subconscious, unable to distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and reality, starts reshaping your automatic behaviors to mirror your chosen actions. So ask yourself, what part of your self-image needs immediate growth? Which quality of your future self could you embody today, even before the world recognizes it? Daily habits create your future. Think about the incredible influence of just one day. 24 hours may feel small, but each day holds the foundation of your destiny. Who you become in 1 year, 5 years, or 10 is not decided by rare opportunities or dramatic moments. It's determined by the small, repeated choices you make daily. Every action you take reinforces neural pathways, making that behavior more automatic. This process is neutral. It will cement excellence just as easily as mediocrity, depending on what you practice. Transformation doesn't come from bursts of motivation or short-lived commitments. It's built through steady, intentional decisions repeated over time. Success is not born from sporadic heroic efforts, but from ordinary actions carried out with extraordinary consistency. Start by identifying the habits of the person you aspire to be. Does this version of you rise early, stay disciplined, read often, express gratitude, or build meaningful connections? Whatever those habits are, put them into practice now. not for instant rewards, but because they will steadily reshape your identity into the person you're meant to become. During the 1968 Olympic training season, Australian swimmer Margaret Thwaites was consistently seconds behind her rivals. Instead of overhauling her technique, she made one simple adjustment, arriving 30 minutes early to every practice. That extra time was spent on breathing drills and mental rehearsal. To her teammates, it seemed ordinary, but Thwaites never wavered. For 11 months, she showed up without fail. By the time the Olympic trials came, those small, steady minutes had transformed her from team alternate to gold medal contender. So ask yourself, are you waiting for motivation before building the habits of your ideal self? Or will you recognize that action always comes first and motivation follows? When will you decide that today's choices matter more than yesterday's limits or tomorrow's dreams? Like water carving stone, persistence, not force, shapes who you become. The real challenge is holding your habits long enough to see their compounding effect. Too many quit before crossing that threshold, never reaping the reward of consistency. Start with habits so small they feel trivial. Read 5 pages each morning or take a 10-minute walk daily. These beginnings may seem minor, but their strength lies in repetition, not intensity. Over time, they embed into your identity, expanding until they match the full vision of your future self. Excellence isn't built on occasional heroic effort, but on ordinary actions repeated with extraordinary consistency. The gap between who you are now and who you want to be is bridged by thousands of small, daily choices. So, what single habit could you begin tomorrow morning that would connect you most directly to your future self? Which action, if practiced consistently for a year, would alter your path the most? The answer always comes down to courage. The courage to step outside your comfort zone. Every great achievement in history required someone to cross that invisible line between safety and uncertainty. That promotion you want, the business you dream of starting, the relationship you hope to build. Each one exists just beyond your current comfort. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. This truth explains why so many remain stuck in mediocrity, despite their potential. They cling to temporary ease, mistaking it for fulfillment, never realizing that discomfort is the very key to becoming who they aspire to be. You accelerate transformation by deliberately stepping into situations that stretch your abilities and challenge your assumptions. Every time you embrace discomfort, you expand your capacity for uncertainty and difficulty. And that expansion doesn't just change what you can do, it reshapes who you are becoming. So identify the discomforts holding you back. Is it public speaking? Starting difficult conversations? Investing in your growth? Learning new skills? Whatever they may be, face them with intention, because temporary discomfort is always the price of lasting transformation. British mountaineer Alastair Pennington struggled to break past regional competitions, despite his intense physical training. After honest self-reflection, he realized his barrier wasn't strength, but psychology. He avoided difficult routes that carried the risk of public failure, choosing comfort over true growth. Determined to change, Pennington restructured his training and pursued only routes that triggered fear and uncertainty. For 6 months, he endured repeated failures, public setbacks, and the mental strain of performing below his previous standard. Yet this deliberate discomfort expanded his abilities far more than incremental improvements ever could, eventually earning him recognition among the world's elite climbers. So ask yourself, are you arranging your life for comfort or for growth? When was the last time you intentionally put yourself in a situation where failure wasn't just possible, but likely? How much untapped potential lies within you, waiting for the spark of necessary discomfort? The paradox of growth is clear. You must become comfortable with discomfort. The feelings of uncertainty, vulnerability, and temporary incompetence, so often avoided, are actually signals that you're moving in the right direction. They mark the expansion of your capacity, not reasons to retreat. Begin with small discomforts. Speak up in meetings, approach new connections, or tackle skills that intimidate you. As your tolerance grows, expand the scope of challenges. Soon, what once felt terrifying will seem manageable, and what once felt impossible will become routine. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Your growth, your purpose, and your potential contribution matter far more than temporary comfort. Life's greatest regrets rarely come from the risks we take, but from the opportunities we avoid out of fear of failure or discomfort. What challenge have you been avoiding that could transform you if embraced? And what's the smallest step you could take tomorrow to begin facing it? Remember, no one achieves extraordinary success in isolation. History proves this truth again and again, yet many still try to reach their full potential alone. The reality is clear. Your environment, especially the people you interact with most, shapes your thinking, influences your choices, and determines your path. This principle works with unshakable consistency, whether you're aware of it or not. Over time, your mind absorbs the attitudes, ambitions, and standards of those closest to you. The process is subtle, but its impact on your development is both powerful and unavoidable. That's why transformation accelerates when you intentionally surround yourself with people who reflect the qualities you want to grow. This isn't manipulation. It's simply how humans evolve. By elevating your environment, you create the conditions to become your best self. So take an honest look at your social and professional circles. Do the people around you challenge your thinking, raise your standards, and push you toward growth? Or do they encourage complacency and normalize mediocrity? Once you see clearly, take deliberate steps to increase your exposure to excellence, while gently creating distance from influences that hold you back. Does your current environment reflect where you are, or where you're determined to go? Have you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with? What intentional changes in your associations could most rapidly accelerate your growth? This is where the mastermind principle comes in. The exponential power created when minds align in harmony towards shared goals. By creating or joining such alliances, you gain more than knowledge and resources. You tap into a current of mutual inspiration and accountability that pushes every member forward. Start building this environment by seeking mentors who embody your aspirational identity, joining communities rooted in excellence, and connecting regularly with peers who share your drive but offer diverse perspectives. Never forget, one meaningful relationship with someone operating at an extraordinary level can influence your growth far more than casual ties with dozens of people who settle for mediocrity. So ask yourself, what single relationship, if built or deepened, would propel you closer to your future self? And which association, if limited, would remove the biggest obstacle holding you back? Every meaningful achievement in history has faced resistance. This reminds us of an uncomfortable truth. Adversity isn't just an obstacle. It's an essential part of transformation. Your ability to stay the course in the face of difficulty often defines your destiny more than talent, opportunity, or early advantages ever could. Resilience in the face of challenge marks the true difference between those who only desire change and those who actually achieve it. Temporary motivation can spark a beginning, but only persistence, action sustained through difficulty, will carry you from aspiration to embodiment. You build this persistence not by avoiding challenges, but by reframing them. Obstacles aren't interruptions. They are the resistance that strengthens you, the very pressure that shapes the character needed to sustain lasting success. Just as muscle grows under the stress of resistance training, your capabilities expand most when pushing against meaningful opposition. Start by grounding yourself in compelling reasons to become your ideal self. Reasons deeper than comfort or convenience. When your drive connects to values greater than yourself, it's far easier to endure hardship and doubt. Prepare as well for predictable challenges, energy dips, criticism, setbacks, or plateaus, so they don't derail your progress. Consider the story of Brazilian footballer Renato Carvalho. After doctors declared his injury career-ending, he refused to accept defeat. For 18 grueling months, he pushed through pain with an unprecedented rehabilitation routine while others gave up on him. In that isolation, Carvalho didn't just rebuild his body. He transformed his mindset and approach to the game. When he returned, stronger and sharper, he rose from being a talented player to a transformative force, ultimately earning his place among the era's elite. When was the last time hardship strengthened your resolve instead of weakening it? How quickly do you abandon meaningful pursuits when progress turns difficult? And what challenge are you facing right now that, if embraced, could spark your greatest growth? Remember, persistence is not about blindly walking the same path, no matter the outcome. True persistence means holding firm to your ultimate goal while adapting your methods based on feedback. It's the balance between unwavering dedication to your vision and the flexibility to adjust tactics when circumstances demand it. Practical resilience requires systems that sustain momentum during inevitable trials. This might include accountability partners, regular reflection on your deepest motivations, strategic rest to avoid burnout, and learning from those who conquered similar obstacles. Ask yourself, what challenge, if faced with steady effort instead of avoidance, could most accelerate your transformation? And what system could you build today to ensure consistent action toward your dream, regardless of emotion or external circumstances? Notice how truly exceptional individuals always hold a crystal clear picture of who they are and where they're going. That clarity isn't by chance. It's the foundation of every meaningful achievement. Without a precise vision of where you're headed, even the strongest effort can leave you drifting without real progress. Too many people move through life reacting to circumstances, never fully taking command of their direction. They cling to vague ideas of success or happiness, but rarely define them in practical, actionable terms. This lack of clarity almost always produces mediocrity, no matter how much effort or talent is applied. Transformation begins with deliberate visioning, painting a detailed picture of your ideal future self. It's not enough to simply want success. You must define exactly what success looks like for you. In your relationships, your contributions, your finances, your skills, and your personal fulfillment. Document these specifics with precision. Create a blueprint so clear that anyone reading it would know exactly who you're becoming. Start this process by isolating yourself from distractions for a few hours, dedicating that time solely to defining your aspirational identity. Ask yourself the hard questions. What capabilities will your best self possess? What daily activities fill their schedule? What impact do they make on others? What standards do they refuse to compromise? And what environments do they place themselves in? Write these details vividly, then refine them through regular review until your vision becomes crystal clear. In the 1950s, Italian civic architect Marco Visconti found himself producing competent yet uninspired designs, good enough to secure work, but not enough to ignite his passion. During a period of frustration, he retreated to his family's countryside home for 3 weeks, where he carefully documented his ideal professional future. He sketched the exact types of structures he wanted to design, the collaborative relationships he hoped to build, and he even detailed the technical innovations he hoped to pioneer and the publications he aspired to be featured in. When Visconti returned to his practice, he declined projects that didn't align with this vision, even when they were financially attractive. Instead, he invested his time in speculative designs that matched his ideal future. Within just 14 months, this clarity-driven approach attracted the very opportunities he had once imagined, establishing him as one of the most distinctive architects of his generation. Have you defined your aspirational identity with enough precision to recognize aligned opportunities when they appear? Could a stranger clearly see who you are becoming based on your current definition? Are your daily choices guided by a crystal-clear vision or vague aspirations? Remember, clarity always comes before mastery in any meaningful pursuit. Without definition, your mind lacks the blueprint to construct your ideal future. And this clarity must go beyond external achievements. It must include the inner qualities, values, and standards that will shape your best self. Engage with your vision through every sense. Don't just think about your future, but visualize the exact scenes. Hear the words your future self would speak. Picture the environments they would inhabit. Even select music that captures the essence of this aspiration. This multisensory approach strengthens neural pathways, making your vision more accessible and more compelling to your subconscious. So ask yourself, what part of your future identity still lacks definition? Which area of your life would benefit most from sharper clarity about who you want to become? Moving from planning to implementation is the next step. Have you noticed how society often celebrates ideas and contemplation, while true achievement only comes through action? Countless people hold brilliant insights and carefully crafted strategies, yet remain unknown because they never transform their vision into tangible results. The real barrier between mediocrity and excellence lies in the space between knowing and doing. That hesitation comes from our tendency to overvalue preparation while underestimating the lessons that only action can teach. We convince ourselves more research, more planning, or more training is necessary, without realizing that this often serves as a disguise for avoiding risk and discomfort. You close this gap through the discipline of immediate implementation. Take concrete action toward your aspirational identity within 24 hours of identifying any growth opportunity. This principle doesn't dismiss planning. It simply prevents planning from becoming a substitute for progress. Imperfect action today will always create more results than perfect action delayed forever. Start small by identifying one significant step you can complete within the next day. Maybe it's submitting an application, publishing that first article, reaching out to a mentor, or initiating a difficult conversation. Whatever the action is, commit to doing it before you allow yourself more planning or preparation. American publisher Lawrence Mitchell once discovered a manuscript that struck him as commercially promising, though it needed heavy revision. Instead of waiting on committee reviews or lengthy market analyses, he called the author directly, negotiated provisional terms, and announced the acquisition to his publicity team, all within 6 hours of reading it. Mitchell's decisiveness, which some colleagues criticized as reckless, ended up securing the rights to what became the decade's best-selling biography. When asked later about his unconventional choice, he explained that while competitors were still analyzing, he had already launched promotional efforts, creating unstoppable momentum. How many of your own plans remain unexecuted? How much knowledge is locked in your mind, never translated into action? Which part of your aspirational identity has suffered the most from the gap between what you know and what you've actually done? Remember, clarity is born through action, not endless planning. The feedback you gain from execution, whether success or setback, offers insights no amount of contemplation can provide. This practical wisdom often proves more valuable than all the theories that came before it. So ask yourself, what action have you been postponing through overplanning? What single step could you take within the next 24 hours to move closer to your ideal self? The foundation of exceptional achievement lies here. Have you noticed how truly remarkable people hold themselves to higher standards than everyone else? They refuse to accept good enough, speak with precision where others tolerate vagueness, and stay engaged when others would choose to rest. This difference in standards, more than talent, opportunity, or resources, explains why the gap between extraordinary and ordinary results is so vast. Most people settle for the expectations of their environment, doing just enough to keep their job, maintaining relationships at a surface level, and building skills only to the point of adequacy. This approach guarantees mediocrity, no matter how much potential you hold, because conforming to average standards will never produce extraordinary results. To elevate your trajectory, you must set personal standards that rise far above what your environment demands. That process begins with a clear examination of your aspirational identity. What standards would your ideal self uphold? In work quality, personal conduct, skill development, contribution to others, and the care of physical and mental resources. Start by choosing one domain most relevant to who you want to become. It might be the quality of your professional output, your physical fitness, your precision in communication, or your ability to follow through on commitments. Whatever you decide, define standards so specific they can be objectively measured. And hold to them, even when circumstances tempt you to compromise. Japanese ceramic artist Hiroshi Tanaka once produced pieces that were both commercially successful and critically praised. Yet he remained privately dissatisfied, sensing untapped potential in his work. Instead of continuing on this safe, profitable path, Tanaka created an uncompromising personal rule: destroy any piece with even the smallest imperfection, visible only to his own trained eye. For 11 months, this choice led him to destroy nearly 70% of his completed works, reducing his income and alarming his peers. But this relentless commitment reshaped both his technical mastery and artistic vision. In time, it established him as one of the most significant artists of his generation, with his pieces commanding 10 times their former value. What area of your life still operates by standards shaped by your environment rather than your aspirational identity? Where have you settled for good enough when excellence was possible? What would your ideal self demand that your current self treats as optional? Remember, elevated standards often seem unreasonable to those accustomed to mediocrity. When you begin raising the bar, expect resistance, both from external critics and from your own inner rationalizations. But this pushback is not a sign your standards are wrong. It's proof that you're creating expectations powerful enough to transform you. The key is to ground these standards in clear, measurable criteria that leave no room for vague compromise. Objective benchmarks protect you from the subtle slips that erode excellence over time. To strengthen this commitment, build accountability systems, public commitments, regular reviews, or partnerships with those who uphold similar expectations. These safeguards make it easier to stay aligned with your elevated standards than to abandon them. So ask yourself, what single standard, if raised today, would most accelerate your journey toward your ideal self? And what measurable criteria could you use to ensure you uphold it no matter the circumstances? Now consider this truth. The greatest catalyst for transformation often isn't found in solitude, but in strategic relationships. Throughout history, those who experienced extraordinary growth often traced it back to one connection that challenged their thinking, broadened their vision, or revealed new possibilities. But here's an overlooked truth. Becoming your ideal self requires more than discipline. It demands the deliberate cultivation of transformative relationships. Too often, people approach relationships passively, letting convenience or circumstance dictate their closest connections. What they fail to see is that certain relationships carry the power to accelerate their growth exponentially. Passive networking almost always guarantees slower progress. Real transformation comes when you actively curate relationships that align with your aspirations. There are 5 kinds to prioritize. Mentors who've already reached what you aim to achieve. Peers walking a similar path of growth. Students who learn from your current knowledge. Rivals whose success pushes your limits. And connectors who open doors to new networks. Start by identifying specific individuals in each of these categories who could help fast-track your development. Study their background, learn from their work, and create authentic opportunities to connect, driven by genuine interest, not self-gain. Approach these relationships with clarity about the mutual value you hope to build. British physicist Eleanor Hammond once found herself producing competent research and holding a respectable post at her university. Yet she realized something was missing. Her work lacked the creative breakthroughs she truly longed for. Rather than focusing solely on sharpening her technical skills, Hammond chose a different path. She intentionally built connections with researchers applying physics in diverse fields: astronomy, materials science, and theoretical mathematics. Each week, she dedicated 3 hours to cultivating these cross-disciplinary relationships through correspondence, lab visits, and collaborative discussions. Within 18 months, this strategy paid off. Her expertise found novel applications, leading to groundbreaking publications that positioned Hammond as a pioneer in uniting previously separate scientific domains. Now ask yourself, what specific relationship, if developed, could most dramatically accelerate your transformation into your ideal self? Which current connection might be limiting your growth by reinforcing outdated perspectives or standards? How intentionally are you curating your personal and professional circles? Strategic relationship building, when rooted in genuine respect and mutual benefit, is not manipulation, it's alignment. The most valuable connections emerge from authentic engagement, not transactional networking. And often, they don't begin with a single dramatic meeting, but through small, consistent interactions over time. You strengthen these bonds by investing in others' success before seeking their support. That might mean sharing resources relevant to their goals, acknowledging their contributions, connecting them with new opportunities, or offering help with their projects. Each act builds relational capital, making future collaboration and guidance more natural and welcomed. Which potential mentor, even beyond your current network, could offer the perspective most vital to your aspirational identity? And what genuine approach could help you build an authentic connection with them based on mutual interest rather than one-sided benefit? Have you noticed that truly extraordinary individuals carry a rare alignment between how they present themselves publicly and how they live privately? This harmony is not accidental. It's the result of deliberate character development that removes the exhausting compartmentalization many people maintain between different areas of life. When your identity is integrated, you unlock your full capabilities in any situation. Yet most people attempt to live as different versions of themselves: professional versus personal, public versus private, family versus social. This fragmentation drains mental and emotional energy. creating internal conflict and blocking the deeper character growth that only comes from consistent alignment of values and actions. You cultivate this integration by first identifying the core values and standards that define your aspirational identity. Then you apply them across every area of life, instead of shifting your behavior to fit each context. At first, this will create friction, especially in environments used to your compartmentalized self. But over time, it forges a profound authenticity that strengthens your influence in every relationship and pursuit. Start by choosing one core value central to your aspirational identity that you currently express inconsistently. Maybe you uphold strong integrity in your career, but cut corners in personal finances. Perhaps you show flawless accountability with clients, yet slip on personal commitments. Or you extend deep compassion to colleagues, but struggle with patience at home. Whatever inconsistency you notice, create clear practices that anchor this value with equal strength across every area of life. Richard Harrington, for example, achieved impressive professional success while keeping a sharp divide between his work persona and personal identity. In business, he displayed creativity and innovation that clients deeply admired. Yet in family and community life, he followed conventional patterns shaped by his upbringing. Over time, dissatisfaction grew, and Harrington realized this separation was the root of his limited fulfillment. Despite outward success, he identified areas where his creative energy was missing: parenting, community service, even personal hobbies, and began applying the same innovative thinking he once reserved only for work. At first, this integration unsettled those used to his divided self. But ultimately, it brought deeper personal satisfaction and even enhanced his professional abilities as insights from different parts of his life began to enrich one another. So ask yourself, where does your behavior shift drastically depending on the context? Which parts of your aspirational identity do you express inconsistently? And what single value, if lived fully across all areas, would accelerate your growth the most? Remember, integration doesn't mean acting the same in every situation. It means aligning your core values consistently, no matter the setting. The way you express your values may shift depending on the environment, but the underlying integrity must remain the same. Integration often brings temporary discomfort, as those familiar with your compartmentalized identity adjust to a more authentic version of you. One way to accelerate this process is by creating accountability across domains, inviting colleagues into personal projects, blending family and professional growth, or applying the same high standards across every responsibility. This cross-domain accountability prevents the subtle compromises that often weaken compartmentalized lives. So ask yourself, which part of your aspirational identity appears only in certain contexts? What practice could you begin today to express it consistently everywhere, even when it feels challenging? Have you noticed that extraordinary individuals move toward challenge instead of avoiding it? They willingly step into situations most people fear because they see what others overlook. The undeniable link between deliberate discomfort and accelerated development. This mindset explains why some evolve quickly while others stay stagnant despite having similar abilities. Most people instinctively organize life to avoid discomfort, treating it as a signal something is wrong. But in reality, discomfort is the catalyst for growth. True development happens at the edges of your capability, precisely where discomfort naturally begins. You accelerate growth by deliberately seeking experiences that stretch your limits instead of reinforcing what you already know. This strategy begins by pinpointing the discomforts most relevant to your aspirational identity, whether physical strain, intellectual challenge, social vulnerability, creative uncertainty, or emotional exposure, and systematically leaning into them. Start by identifying one discomfort directly tied to the future self you want to become. Is it public visibility, financial risk, intellectual challenge, or even interpersonal conflict? Whatever you've been avoiding, design a plan to face it gradually through regular, manageable steps instead of overwhelming leaps. Consider Swedish industrialist Henrik Lindström. For years he avoided public communication, delegating it to colleagues even though he knew it limited his company's growth. That changed when a competitor's aggressive expansion threatened his business. Lindström enrolled in an intensive program requiring weekly presentations to ever larger audiences. For 6 months, he endured relentless anxiety, harsh criticism, and frequent failures, discomforts he once thought unbearable. This deliberate discomfort didn't just sharpen Lindstrom's communication. It rebuilt his confidence, unlocking opportunities to expand into international markets that once seemed impossible. So, which discomfort, if embraced, could most accelerate your journey toward your ideal self? What essential activities have you avoided simply because they felt unpleasant in the moment? And how much might comfort-seeking habits be quietly limiting your true potential? Remember, productive discomfort isn't the same as pointless suffering. The discomfort that drives growth is tied directly to the skills and strengths your aspirational identity requires, not random hardship without purpose. The key lies in progression, gradually increasing intensity as your tolerance grows, rather than overwhelming yourself too soon. To sustain this, build recovery practices that keep you strong. Take strategic rest, reflect on lessons learned, celebrate small wins, and surround yourself with a supportive community also pursuing growth through challenge. Ask yourself, what discomfort have you been avoiding that connects directly to who you want to become? And what small, manageable step could you take this week to face it? This leads us to a deeper truth. Exceptional achievement comes less from bursts of inspiration and more from disciplined consistency. The steady ability to act with focus regardless of emotions, circumstances, or immediate results. Too often, people chase progress in short, feverish sprints, only to stall when enthusiasm fades. This inconsistent approach almost always leads to limited results, no matter the potential, because true growth comes from the compound effect of steady action, not random bursts of effort. You unlock the transformative power of consistency by building systems that keep progress alive, even when your emotions fluctuate. Motivation will always rise and fall. That's why you need structures that hold you steady. Environmental designs that reduce friction, accountability mechanisms that make consistency easier than quitting, and identity-based commitments that go beyond temporary moods. Start by choosing one behavior tied directly to your aspirational identity, and commit to doing it daily for the next 90 days, no matter the circumstances. It could be skill development, building relationships, creating, training your body, or strengthening your mind. The key is to treat this practice not as a flexible goal, but as a non-negotiable standard. Consider the example of Indian classical musician Rajiv Mehta. His technical skill was undeniable, but his recognition remained inconsistent because his practice schedule wavered, intense before performances, then minimal during quiet periods. After a disappointing concert season, he made a new commitment: 4 hours of deliberate practice every single day, regardless of travel, health, or performance schedule. For 7 months, this required immense sacrifice, from pre-dawn sessions while touring to modified practice even during illness. Yet this relentless consistency gave Mehta more than technical refinement. It sparked artistic breakthroughs that elevated him into one of the most respected performers of his generation. Now ask yourself, what single behavior, if practiced with flawless consistency for the next 90 days, would most accelerate your growth toward your ideal self? And what systems could you put in place today to protect that consistency, no matter how your circumstances or motivation shift? Remember, the transformative power of consistency doesn't reveal itself overnight. The most valuable results often emerge only after you've sustained the effort long past the point where most people quit. This delayed return is why consistency remains rare, despite being the most effective path to mastery. To strengthen your own consistency, prepare for the challenges you know are coming. Anticipate the disruptions, travel, illness, deadlines, emotional fluctuations, and design contingency plans that keep you on track. These may include modified versions of your commitment during tough times, environmental adjustments that reduce friction, or recovery strategies that quickly restore momentum after setbacks. So, where has inconsistency held back your development the most? And what system could you put in place right now to ensure disciplined follow-through, regardless of the obstacles? Have you noticed that truly fulfilled individuals link their personal growth to purposes greater than themselves? This reveals a powerful truth. Lasting satisfaction doesn't come from self-centered achievement, but from meaningful contribution. It's about using your abilities to meet needs beyond your own interests and creating value that endures even after your direct involvement ends. Many chase personal development as a tool for self-enhancement, seeking skills, knowledge, and achievements that boost their status, security, or comfort. But without considering the impact of these abilities on others, this pursuit often produces capability without fulfillment, expanding what you can do, yet leaving a void in what you truly enjoy. You shift this dynamic by intentionally tying your growth to contribution. Ask yourself, how can your evolving skills meet real needs in your relationships, workplace, community, or even society at large? This contribution-centered approach not only accelerates growth, but also magnifies fulfillment, creating a cycle of progress fueled by the satisfaction of impact. Start by examining the skills you're developing right now and explore how they could serve others. Maybe your analytical thinking could help nonprofits operate more effectively. Your communication could give voice to important but overlooked perspectives. Your technical knowledge might break barriers for underserved groups. Or your leadership could nurture potential in people who lack proper guidance. Australian architect Margaret Wilson discovered this firsthand. While honing her design expertise in prestigious firms and securing high-profile projects, she recognized a deeper way to channel her capabilities. Despite her professional recognition, Margaret Wilson felt an increasing sense of dissatisfaction. That changed when she encountered a rural community where inadequate public facilities restricted educational opportunities. Instead of staying on her lucrative commercial path, she redirected her architectural expertise toward designing innovative, cost-effective schools for under-resourced areas. This purpose-driven work not only deepened her professional fulfillment, but also accelerated her creative growth far beyond what her previous projects had achieved. In time, Wilson became one of the most innovative educational facility designers of her generation. Now, ask yourself, how could your developing skills address meaningful needs beyond personal advancement? Which abilities are you building mainly for self-enhancement rather than contribution? What genuine needs exist in your sphere of influence that your aspirational identity is uniquely positioned to meet? Remember, contribution-oriented growth doesn't demand dramatic career changes or major sacrifices. It's about aligning your development with opportunities to create impact through your current roles and relationships. Often, this begins with small shifts in focus and application rather than complete reinvention. You can strengthen this orientation by regularly exposing yourself to new perspectives and unmet needs. Volunteer with different communities. Learn from thought leaders tackling big challenges, research overlooked problems in your field, or simply engage in meaningful conversations with people facing circumstances different from your own. What adjustment could you make right now to align your personal growth more directly with meaningful contribution? Which capability tied to your aspirational identity could create the greatest positive impact if deliberately directed toward the needs of others? Extraordinary individuals share a unique trait. They extract disproportionate growth from ordinary experiences. The difference lies not in what happens to them, but in how they systematically convert those experiences into wisdom they can apply. While many simply accumulate experiences, few deliberately transform them into lasting capability through reflection and action. Most people approach life as consumers of experience, chasing novelty, information, and interactions without creating a process to capture their developmental value. But growth doesn't come from exposure alone. Wisdom arises when you intentionally process those experiences into usable insight. You maximize your development by adopting practices that turn daily moments, both victories and setbacks, into lasting wisdom that strengthens your capabilities. This might include structured reflection, journaling insights, testing lessons across different contexts, and revisiting past experiences to uncover patterns. A powerful place to start is a daily reflection routine that asks focused questions about the most significant events of your day and the lessons they hold. What specific capabilities did this experience test or strengthen? Which assumptions were confirmed and which were challenged? What patterns link this moment to past situations? And most importantly, what adjustments could improve your effectiveness when facing similar challenges in the future? Document these reflections in a format that allows for regular review and application. Canadian business leader Thomas Reynolds advanced steadily through management roles, earning a reputation for solid decision-making. Yet, he noticed some colleagues progressing faster despite having similar levels of experience. Curious, Reynolds discovered that these peers followed systematic learning practices he had overlooked, especially the daily documentation of decision factors, outcomes, and lessons learned, instead of rushing straight into the next challenge. Determined to grow, Reynolds began dedicating 30 minutes each day to analyzing his most significant decisions and extracting clear principles he could apply in the future. Within just 14 months, this practice dramatically sharpened his decision quality and response time, propelling him beyond peers who had once held more experience. So, how systematically are you extracting wisdom from your daily experiences? Which valuable lessons from recent successes or setbacks have you failed to capture? And what learning practices could you implement right now to ensure you maximize growth from the experiences you already have? Remember, true transformative learning comes from structured reflection paired with deliberate application. Neither reflection nor application alone can produce true growth. Without reflection, experiences remain isolated events instead of resources for development. Without application, insights stay theoretical rather than becoming part of your operating capabilities. To strengthen your learning, periodically review your accumulated insights to uncover patterns invisible in single experiences. These higher-level observations often spark breakthrough realizations that accelerate your growth, revealing core principles you can apply across many situations, not just tactics useful in narrow contexts. What reflection practice could you begin today to extract maximum value from your daily experiences? And which recent challenge may hold wisdom you haven't yet fully captured or applied? Extraordinary individuals understand something crucial. Development has no finish line. They don't see growth as a process that ends with arrival, but as a lifelong expansion, no matter their level of success. This perspective explains why some continue to evolve for decades, while others plateau into comfortable competence. Many people adopt an arrival mentality, believing there's a point where growth is no longer necessary. But this mindset inevitably creates stagnation. Real growth demands constant boundary expansion, not just preservation of current abilities, no matter how impressive they appear. Lifelong development comes from embracing the paradox of being both a master and a perpetual apprentice. It means holding confidence in what you've achieved while maintaining insatiable curiosity about what's next. You nurture this mindset by regularly reassessing your aspirational identity, exploring beyond your current domain, and rejecting complacency, even in the face of recognition or achievement. Begin by identifying areas of your growth that have settled into comfortable competence instead of active evolution. These plateaus can appear in your professional skills, relationships, intellectual frameworks, creative pursuits, or personal disciplines. For each area, create specific expansion initiatives that deliberately push you beyond current capabilities through new challenges, perspectives, or applications. English physicist William Harrington, for example, earned global recognition for his groundbreaking research. Yet over time, he noticed his thinking narrowing into predictable patterns shaped by past successes. Refusing to settle, Harrington disrupted his trajectory by taking a sabbatical to study disciplines far outside his field. He built collaborations with researchers using radically different methods and challenged his deepest assumptions. Though his productivity initially declined, this bold recommitment to growth sparked breakthrough insights that connected previously separate domains. These contributions became his most significant work, decades after many of his peers had stopped innovating. So ask yourself, which aspects of your development have slipped into comfortable routine instead of active evolution? What expansion initiative could you implement today to break potential plateaus? And how often do you seek challenges that stretch your capacity, rather than opportunities to display existing strengths? Remember, continuous growth demands balancing confidence with humility, trusting in your current abilities while recognizing their limits. This balance protects you from both the insecurity that stifles action and the complacency that halts progress. Enhance your capacity for evolution by periodically revisiting the fundamentals within areas where you've gained expertise. Returning to core practices with expanded awareness often uncovers overlooked dimensions and opportunities for refinement, subtleties invisible during your initial development. This prevents the slow erosion of essentials that often comes with advanced specialization. So, Which area of your current competence would benefit most from deliberate expansion beyond comfortable mastery? What foundational practice, if revisited now, could reveal hidden layers for further growth? Have you noticed that truly exceptional individuals maintain extraordinary control over their mental and emotional states, no matter the external circumstances? While most people let their inner world be dictated by outside events, these individuals understand a crucial truth. Lasting achievement depends less on controlling circumstances and more on mastering your response to them through deliberate mental discipline. Too many devote their energy to manipulating external conditions while neglecting the internal environment that ultimately shapes both performance and fulfillment. Real transformation comes from building systematic practices for managing your mind. Intentionally cultivating inner states that align with your aspirational identity, regardless of external triggers. These practices might include reframing challenges into opportunities, managing attention to stay focused on what truly matters, regulating emotions to maintain peak performance, and consistently aligning your perspective with your highest values. Begin practicing mental management by first identifying the thought patterns that limit your growth. These might include catastrophic thinking that fuels unnecessary anxiety, self-limiting beliefs that shrink your potential, constant comparison that undermines your unique value, or dissatisfaction with the present that blinds you to progress already made. Once identified, create specific strategies to redirect these patterns toward more productive channels. Canadian tennis champion Robert Mitchell embodied this shift. Though his technical skill was exceptional, his performance wavered due to emotional volatility after early setbacks. Despite intense physical training, his results depended too heavily on momentum. After a crushing loss, Mitchell changed course. He maintained his physical regimen but added a mental management protocol, pre-match visualization, between-point reset routines, and post-match reviews. For 9 months, he invested equal time in training both mind and body, often appearing still while internally rehearsing his strategies. This deliberate discipline transformed not only his consistency, but his entire experience of competition, establishing him as one of the most mentally resilient players of his era. So, how well do you currently manage your inner world? Which thought patterns most often hold you back from embodying your aspirational identity? And which part of your mental management, focus, emotional control, perspective, or self-talk needs immediate attention? Remember, mastery doesn't mean eliminating every negative thought or emotion. It means building reliable systems to respond effectively when they inevitably appear. The key to mental management is not eliminating every thought, but preventing their unnecessary amplification or prolonged influence. This approach accepts the full range of human mental experience while giving you greater control over its impact and duration. Strengthen this ability through regular practice sessions dedicated to inner development, rather than relying only on real-time reactions during stressful moments. Just as physical strength is built in training, not during competition, mental resilience grows most effectively through deliberate practice in controlled settings. So ask yourself, what mental practice could you start today to bring you closer to your aspirational identity? Which recurring thought pattern, if redirected, would most quickly accelerate your transformation? Extraordinary individuals share a common trait. They direct their attention with remarkable precision. They focus on what advances their growth while filtering out distractions. Your focus is the gateway to transformation, determining which influences shape your evolution and which ones fade away. Most people, however, allow their attention to be pulled passively by social norms, external noise, and fleeting interests. Without strategy, this guarantees inefficiency, no matter how much potential you hold. True progress comes when you consciously direct attention to activities, feedback, and inputs that align with your aspirational identity, while ruthlessly cutting away anything that reinforces your current limitations. Begin implementing selective focus by auditing how your attention is truly spent each day. Track where your mental energy flows. What conversations capture your interest, which information sources you consume, what activities absorb your time, and the thought patterns that dominate your reflection. Then compare these actual patterns with the ideal focus distribution that would best shape your aspirational identity. From there, make intentional adjustments to bring your attention into alignment with this developmental vision. Brazilian entrepreneur Carlos Mendez once found himself working long hours, yet frustrated with stagnant growth. On closer inspection, he realized his attention was scattered across endless operational details, leaving little room for strategic expansion. To change course, he applied radical focused discipline, committing himself only to 3 high-leverage activities tied directly to growth. He delegated or eliminated everything else, no matter how urgent it appeared. The shift created months of organizational friction as old habits resisted change. But in time, this selective focus revealed breakthrough opportunities previously hidden by his fragmented awareness, elevating him into one of the region's most successful business leaders. So ask yourself, how strategically are you directing your attention? What percentage of your energy fuels your aspirational identity? And how much is consumed by maintaining the status quo? Which powerful influences remain untapped because your focus has been elsewhere? Remember, selective focus is not just about directing energy toward high-value inputs. It's also about eliminating the distractions that quietly drain your growth. Most failures in attention management don't come from a lack of exposure to growth inputs, but from poor protection against competing distractions. To truly enhance your focus, design your environment so it reduces reliance on willpower. Shape both your physical and digital spaces to naturally pull your attention toward priorities while minimizing exposure to what derails you. This might mean setting clear communication boundaries that protect deep work, arranging your environment to reinforce developmental cues, modifying technology to block temptations, or structuring your schedule so high-leverage activities take place when your mind is at its sharpest. So ask yourself, what adjustment could you make right now that would accelerate your transformation? Which attention pattern, if redirected, would most powerfully increase your efficiency? Mastering development timing is equally vital. Have you noticed how extraordinary individuals remain calm about their growth timeline? They neither rush processes that require patience nor hesitate when decisive action is needed. This balance reflects a deep understanding. Transformation follows natural laws. It cannot be forced through impatience, yet it demands courage at critical moments. Many people approach growth with distorted expectations of timing. They either demand instant results from processes that require long-term investment, or they postpone decisive action through endless preparation when immediate steps would actually accelerate progress. Both extremes guarantee inefficiency, no matter how much effort is applied. Transformation unfolds in natural sequences. It doesn't thrive under forced acceleration, nor does it benefit from unnecessary delay. True development comes from cultivating strategic patience, aligning your timing expectations with the natural rhythm of growth. This means learning to distinguish between processes that require time to mature and situations where taking action now, even imperfectly, provides feedback that preparation alone can never deliver. Start by identifying where your own development suffers from timing misalignment. Are you forcing skills before laying the right foundation? Are you delaying opportunities because you're over-preparing? Or perhaps you're misreading plateaus as permanent limits, instead of natural pauses before breakthrough. Japanese martial artist Kenji Tanaka learned this lesson firsthand. Despite his technical discipline, he grew frustrated watching less rigorous peers advance more quickly. With the guidance of an elder master, Tanaka realized that some abilities cannot be rushed. They emerge only through patience, allowing time and consistent practice to shape mastery. Tanaka's new approach required integrated development with natural sequences and maturation periods. For nearly a year, progress often looked slower than his old, urgent methods, causing him moments of doubt. Yet this strategic patience unlocked remarkable capabilities that had been out of reach before, ultimately establishing him as one of the most respected martial artists of his generation. Which areas of your own growth are you trying to force before they're ready? What opportunities are you postponing under the excuse of preparation, when immediate action could deliver the feedback you truly need? And are your timeline expectations realistic, or are they setting you up for frustration? Strategic patience doesn't mean passive waiting. It means knowing the right timing. It's about discerning when persistence requires steady investment, and when breakthrough demands bold, immediate action despite uncertainty. This wisdom comes from carefully observing your own development patterns, as well as those of others walking similar paths. Sharpen your sense of timing by regularly assessing your trajectory. Identify which skills are currently expanding rapidly and which are in a consolidation phase requiring stability before further acceleration. This awareness helps you avoid the mistake of pushing too hard during integration, while also seizing momentum when growth is ready to surge. Are you delaying progress with unnecessary preparation, when immediate action could give you the feedback you truly need? How realistic are your expectations about the timeline for your biggest goals? Strategic patience isn't passive waiting. It's about acting at the right time. It's the ability to recognize when steady persistence is required and when a breakthrough demands bold, decisive action despite uncertainty. This discernment develops through careful observation, watching both your own growth patterns and those of others on similar paths. Sharpen your sense of timing by regularly assessing your progress. Which of your skills are in a phase of rapid expansion? Which are in a consolidation stage, requiring stability before acceleration? This awareness prevents the mistake of forcing growth too soon, while also allowing you to harness momentum when the time is right. So ask yourself, what part of your development needs patience and maturity, and which opportunity, if acted on immediately, could unlock feedback and growth that endless preparation never will? History shows us something powerful. The most extraordinary contributors didn't always invent something entirely new. More often, their greatness came from creative synthesis, combining existing elements, perspectives, or skills in ways the world had never seen before. This integrative approach reveals why some individuals make extraordinary contributions while working with the same raw materials as everyone else. Too often, people treat growth as accumulation, collecting knowledge, skills, or experiences within fixed boundaries, without exploring how these pieces might connect in new ways. But narrow specialization, no matter how deep, always limits contribution. True breakthroughs often emerge at the intersections between disciplines, not at their centers. You expand your unique value by practicing creative synthesis, deliberately connecting your diverse knowledge, skills, perspectives, and experiences. Yet many still chase quick recognition, aiming for achievements that fit neatly into conventional timelines and standard measures. But ask yourself, what changes in your current focus could truly expand your potential for lasting influence? Whatever legacy you hope to create, build it with careful attention to sustainability, ensuring it lives on beyond your active involvement. So remember, your growth is not just about what you achieve today, but about what continues to flourish tomorrow. Wishing you health, happiness, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.